So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Sharing the Light with yours truly, Professor V. Well, I just thought I'd come in and comment a little bit on what's going on today. First and foremost, I want to give my condolences to the Floyd family and for all of those of us who have lost a loved one, be it COVID-19 or be whatever the circumstances is or was. I do send my condolences if you have lost a loved one. So I just want to talk real briefly about some of the things that are going on. Don't want to sound like a broken record, of course, but I've been getting some feedback or some comments, I should say, on my social media in terms of all lives matter and things of that nature. Ladies and gentlemen, listen, let's be clear about all of this. We realize that all lives matter, but when you have isolated a particular group of people and for unjust treatment, unfair treatment, and things of that nature, then how can you honestly say all lives matter? All lives does not matter until everybody is treated fairly. And in this country in particular, we find um, that there are many law enforcement agencies around the country who are admittedly responding to the cry and saying that, hey, yes, um, our agency do apply too much force or the incorrect force towards African Americans. So with that being said, when you have the agencies themselves admitting that there's a problem and some things need to change, folks, just chill out because this is a very sensitive matter. Um, I probably don't know of any person of color, particularly a male, who has not gone through some type of police ill treatment, if you will. I worked for law enforcement for 10 years, in house, in detentions, and wore my uniform proudly. Some people in my community may have looked down on the situation because of some social connections with being in law enforcement. But I know that me and many people who look like me and some who did not look like me, we wore our uniforms with pride and we treated people fairly. We dealt with the exact same folks that are being dealt with on the streets in those hostile situations, unarmed, along with us being unarmed, and we have been able to diffuse those situations. There are some great cops out there. We know that. But for you to be armed and to deal with an unarmed person, and you cannot de-escalate a situation, whereas you have the other folks that work in your department, maybe in house, and have to deal with the same individuals and diffuse those situations, then perhaps there's some additional training that needs to take place when it comes down to how law enforcement reacts to the public. I don't think it should necessarily be so much a reaction. I think policing should be more proactive than anything. I think if cops can be more proactive, and here's not just a problem, folks. I'm offering a solution, and it's not a new solution. These are things that policing has done over the years, throughout the days. I can recall in my area where I'm from, we've had many community polices, meaning that our police officers were from the community. We had a city captain at some point that was from the area, the side of town that I grew up on. We had some city police officers, the same. And so I think that when you are making your selections, that these people should come out of the community. I don't care what your demographic is made up of, but if everybody should have some kind of representation in terms of maybe even the zip code. I don't know how you want to be able to separate it and make it fair. But the bottom line is, I feel that every community and every town should be properly represented when it comes down to policing. So it's kind of like back in the day in the 70s, maybe, or even earlier than that, when the school systems, even through segregation, let's go back a little further than that. Even with segregating the school systems in the South, students oftentimes fared better because the teachers were from the community. So if we can take just the segregation piece out of it, and even in the educational system, if we can just take that out of it, which is already, that doesn't exist for the most part. But if your teachers come from the same community that the students growing up in or live in, then that family connection and that family engagement will almost be automatic because you are familiar with those folks. And same thing with policing. I mean, it to me, that's part of the problem where you're taking people who are not familiar with a group of people, and then you expect for them to enforce the law within this group of people. Is it impossible? No, it's not impossible. But is it difficult? Yes, obviously it's difficult because there's no connection there. So oftentimes when we don't feel connected to something, you may not treat it the way it should be treated, or you may not even look at that from a different perspective. You may not even look at it from the perspective of the person that you're dealing with. So problem one is the hiring process. How do you remedy that? Select from the community. I understand there's all kind of training, and is that going to work all the time? Probably not. But I do believe that if our police agencies would do a lot more recruiting from the local high schools, because that's all it takes is a high school education, along with some additional training. If you can recruit from that level, even take it down a little further. Go to middle school when the kids' minds are a little fresher and they haven't really been tainted in terms of looking at policemen as being something that they don't want to do, just because of the bad reputation. But we do know that you will select people of color, people of that's economically challenged. We know those people will eventually get there. So why don't you recruit from the community? Now, the other thing with all lives matter, when you tell me all lives matter, it's like you almost say, bump you, Vernon, or Professor V. It doesn't matter what you think, because right now all lives matter. Again, y'all, we understand that all lives matter. But when you go into the doctor's office and the doctor tell you that you have heart trouble, and you tell the doctor, well, doctor, I'm not worried about my heart because my whole body matters. Okay, that's understood. But the problem right now is your heart. And if you don't do anything about your heart, then eventually your entire body is going to be affected by the heart condition that you may have. Same principles, y'all. We know that whole body matters. We know that all lives matter. But right now, the diagnosis has been heart trouble. And in this case, discrimination, that is the issue. And until we can fix that problem, we're going to continue to do the same thing over and over. But I feel in my heart that this time has changed because, see, I came up in the era where we did the January 6th, we did the Stop the Violence protests, we did the Million Man March time too, the Christian March. We did all kind of things. Just trying to be active, showing that, hey, it is time for a change. But still, it's the same old narrative. So Miss Candace Owens, she made a statement about, this is a whole bunch of, I don't even know. It was kind of sickening, just the way she's coming at it. She's taken some things that I haven't yet to meet anybody that's perfect, but she's digging up a past to disarm a present situation. George Floyd has died, so whatever he's done in his life, he's paid the price. He's ultimately paid the price with his life. Okay, and whether you feel that he deserved it or not, no family deserved to see their sibling or their father or their uncle, whoever he may have been to, anyone, to see his life placate this way on live TV, live social media, whatever the case may be. No one deserves that. And as I stated it to Miss Candace, even a dog, no matter how many times he turns over the trash can, does not deserve to have his life compressed out of his body in front of everybody. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, I can go on and on about historical facts, so much, but there's so much that's already been said in the media. Again, I do not want to sound like a broken record. I want to thank all of our white brothers and sisters who are coming out, because I made a statement earlier. You all have the power to make change. Not that we don't. It's just going to take us to continue doing what we're doing, but it's so much appreciated to know that you are seeing the disparity that's going on within the Black community, and that you are willing to stand for a change. That is admirable, and I appreciate it. I'm thinking I can say that for all of us, because of those of you who are sitting in silence, you're wanting people to continue on. You're comfortable with privilege, and what is wrong with me wanting a nice place to live, a nice place to vacate, a nice vehicle to drive, a good education? What is wrong with me wanting to have that very same thing? Why don't you tell me? And we'll dialogue. One thing about me, you can't make me mad. All right? I want to thank you all again. And as I turn, I want to thank you all for coming, listening to me, and sharing the light.